Wednesday, April 22nd, is Earth Day. And as I was reflecting on that day, I was reminded of an advertising slogan that I often used to hear when I listened to National Public Radio. And it was from a corporation that labeled itself a responsible steward of the environment. You may recall that announcement. Now, we know NPR as basically commercial-free, but one-line brief sponsorship credits have been allowed on NPR for decades. But in the mid-2000s, they have been taking on a more advertising tone, and this certainly is one of them. So this slogan of responsible stewardship of the environment was how the Archer Daniels Midland Corporation, or ADM, was presenting itself to the public. I see some snickers out there. And at the time when it was running, my environmental activist friends always shook their heads when they heard it, because to them, ADM was seen as a company producing things like food additives and not necessarily in a safe way. ADM started their environmental stewardship campaign in 2007 when they did it openly and created what is called Sustainability Steering Committee. And they went on in 2009 and 2010 to publish their first corporate responsibility report, which detailed its activities, which reportedly were going in a good direction. Its published goals were to target specific reductions in carbon emissions, and also in water use and in energy use. And in 2015, more recently, they went even further, and they passed, in quote, a no deforestation policy and a respect for human rights policy, unquote. And they focused on achieving what they called traceability, that is, measurable outcomes to show success over time. At first glance, this is commendable. But ADM has been involved in significant environmental and safety incidents that really harm the earth, the environment, and the people, and other living things. Some of them are several grain dust explosions, air pollution violations, and nutrient runoff in the Mississippi River that has created a significant dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. Finally, in January of this year, the company announced a settlement agreement with the Securities and Exchange Commission to resolve that commission's investigation into the reporting errors that were in the company's sustainability reports. If you're somewhat of a cynic, you would say that's not surprising. Of course, ADM is not the only such company to portray an image of responsible stewardship. Also in Michigan, Dow Chemicals started its responsible care global charter in the 1980s with the stated goal of improving human health, safety, and again, environmental stewardship. You may remember that Dow is also the company that acquired Union Carbide in 1999. Union Carbide, which was responsible for the biggest environmental and human disaster, which happened in Bhopal in India in 1984, and which exposed more than 500,000 people to highly toxic gas with a death toll into the thousands, and ongoing issues including water contamination. And yes, there was a sizable monetary settlement eventually, but that did not go to the people in Bhopal. I'm harping so far on American companies, but that's not by any means comprehensive. Let us not forget about that unbelievable scandal that has been called the Dieselgate scandal of the Volkswagen company. Also supposedly a responsible steward of the environment, because after all their diesel engines had diesel, yes, but clean emissions that passed the standards. Well, on September 18, 2015, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, issued a notice of violation to Volkswagen for using what is called a defeat device, which is software to cheat on emission tests. The discrepancies were first discovered in 2014 by researchers at West Virginia University. And it was research that was commissioned by the ICCT, that is the International Council on Clean Transportation. It's this kind of research funding and resulting findings that highlights how crucial it is to have government-funded research that is conducted at private universities and at public universities. What Volkswagen had done was to commit fraud in its installation of a device in its 2009 to 2015 models of diesel automobiles that had software for fuel emission control. But it disabled it during normal driving, so that cars were emitting 40 times the permitted nitrogen oxide pollutants. And owners of diesel cars eventually that had those model years got either money back or a new diesel car, and most of them said, I'd like the money, and they got a BMW or something like that instead. And some got a Tesla. So then, one more thing, some of the groups that have been seeing their funding from the government cut under the DOGE area, the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. There's now a new expression, and they say, I've been doged. So then one wonders, what does then constitute responsible stewardship of the environment and of the earth? Let me toss out a few things as possibilities. The Netherlands have started to install some advanced road surfacing technologies, so that means pavement, to power electric vehicles, or EVs. They're powered wirelessly while driving, and that way they generate electricity from the road surface. So rather than having to stand in line at those filling stations, the more you drive, the more you fill up. Another innovation is the use of the so-called green hydrogen. The not green hydrogen is called gray hydrogen. But green hydrogen is used to eliminate carbon emissions in heavy industry, in transportation, and in energy. It provides fuels to produce heat and electricity, and it's also a raw material for chemical processes. And if you look at the formula for green hydrogen, it has those elements in it, oxygen and hydrogen, in a combination that I will not repeat here because I'm not a chemist, but it is based on those elements. So it's also a raw material for all kinds of chemical processes, all while emitting zero greenhouse gases. It's not made from natural gas. So why isn't everyone just using that? Well, here is the crux. It's coming up. At this moment, China, by far, is the leading user of this technology, green hydrogen. And they're followed by Germany, and then the United States, and then India and Japan, I think Australia and some other countries. But the amount of use is going way down after the first couple. And why is it not used more? And the answer is, that relates to those companies that I was talking about and many more. The answer lies in profitability. And this is the major hurdle to the corporate sector in general. This is why they cannot or will not become real responsible stewards of the environment. Profits remain the bottom line in our capitalist system. True stewardship does not have economic growth and profitability as a bottom line. It involves a lot of volunteering, providing service, expressing gratitude and generosity, and by sharing. It involves nurturing that which is providing life to us, the earth, our communities, living things. How can we embrace possibility in taking care of the earth and in taking care of our communities? Earth Day is a reminder that we can go from environmental despair to environmental possibility. In this time of erosion in our current government's commitments to environmental protection, how can we still find hope and take action? There is a recent book that came out that is talking just about that. How can we still have hope and take action? It was co-authored by Rebecca Solnit, who has all kinds of books in that area. And the title of this book is very hopeful. It is titled Not Too Late, Changing the Climate Story from Despair to Possibility. It was published in 2023 by the Blackwell Publishing Company. And here is a quote summarizing what she says. The climate crisis is partly an imagination crisis, a lack of an ability to imagine that maybe the world could get better, that maybe this is not as good as it gets. Changing the story is not all you need to do to change the world, but you cannot change the world without changing the story about who we can be, unquote. Here are just a few things that we can do personally and in groups, and that's in addition to these new innovative techniques. First, You do not have to go it alone, although that does help. Picking up every slip of paper on the sidewalk, every cigarette butt, it helps. But we can join an organization. For example, a local group like a watershed conservancy. There is one nearby here, the Clinton River and Lake St. Clair Watershed Conservancy. Or we can join an international organization like Greenpeace. You don't have to go on their boats and travel around the oceans, but you can volunteer, you can advertise, you can support them. Another thing is more organized litter cleanups and participating in them. A third one is planting wild grasses and trees. We've done some of that out here. And then, of course, there is the 3 R's. Constantly reduce, reuse, and recycle. Germany is pretty good at these things at the moment. They have banned single-use plastic bags altogether. Take your own bag when you go shopping. Or what my family do, they go to Aldi, which also doesn't have bags already for a long time, and they just take stuff, put it in the back of their car one by one. The kids are very helpful in that. The kids pick that up and then bring it into the kitchen. So that's a way to do it, and that's how we used to do it. And Germany also has an extensive bottle deposit system, more extensive than what we have here, and their system, as you could expect, is known by one of those wonderful, very long compound words. It is called the Pfandflaschensystem. And Pfandflaschensystem, which is almost 20 letters, it really means bottle deposit system. Another thing we can do is to create pollinator gardens, either on our own or with others. And in our cities, and our beacon garden is pretty much a pollinator garden. It's very earth-friendly, and will become more so, I'm sure, in the future. We're still mowing the grass. It's not ideal, but it's not all that bad. So these are all ways, and there's so many more, of glorifying the earth and giving back some of what it gives to us. Let's go back for a moment to Rebecca Solnit's reminder that changing the story is not all you need to do to change the world, but you can't change the world without changing the story about who we can be. And isn't that what we're doing in our Unitarian Universalist congregations? We continually change the story from profit-making to focusing on values that are centered on love, including generosity, justice, transformation, and recognition of the interdependence of all forms of life, not profit. And to us congregations and to Beacon, stewardship is a two-way relationship. Our congregation takes care of us, and we take care of our congregation by sharing our service, our talents, and our monetary pledges. Taking care of the earth is like taking care of our congregations. We offer our gifts to the earth as it is continually providing its gifts to us. May we make it so. Let's spend a few more moments breathing in that air that we get for free from the earth. Let us now rise in body or spirit for our second hymn. It is number 1017 in the teal hymnal.